Hi there and welcome to the Sports News. I'm Nick Kokalis. Well, this is the week that most high school students in Wisconsin are sleeping in till noon and coloning up for the grad party circuit, which can only mean one thing for high school athletes: it's tournament time. On today's show, we will get you caught up with all the state tournament action, as well as interview a few local coaches that know what this time of year is all about. We start our WIAA state tournament coverage with this week's headlines. Well, a good regular season turned into a great postseason as the Middleton Cardinal girls and boys track and field teams finished second and fourth, respectively, at the state track and field meet in La Crosse this week. Whitefish Bay captured the state title for the girls, and Bayport won the state title for the boys. Grabbing all the individual headlines at the state tournament was Monona Grove senior Gabby Beauvais. Gabby sprinted to first place honors in the 100, 200, and 400, and then broke a 21-year-old state record in her first jump, only to finish third in the long jump. When asked to sum up her day, Gabby answered, "I was very busy." And as Gabby Beauvais heads out of town to Central Michigan next year, those staying around town left their mark at the state meet as well. The three top Badger recruits all shined this week in La Crosse. Nadia Williams took home 3 first-place finishes as she led Mount Horeb to a D2 runner-up finish. Ben Eidencheck won 2 races for Nakusha, and highly recruited shot putter Tucker Weddage finished off his high school career with back-to-back state titles. All 3 student athletes will join the Badgers in the fall. For the 21st year in a row, University Ridge played host to the WIAA State Boys Golf Tournament this week. 2 young Madison area teams, Madison Memorial and Middleton, had high hopes entering the 36-hole tournament, but the birdies were few and far between as both teams faded in round 2. It was perennial golf powerhouse Heartland Arrowhead that took home the 2015 state title. Arrowhead edged out Notre Dame High School by just 1 stroke to finish their 6th state title championship in the last 9 years. Lodi wins the D2 state title, and St. Mary's Springs Academy takes home the D3 title. Sam Galloway of Neenah High School shot a pair of 1/71s to win the individual state title. Waunakee's Max Murphy will join us later on in the show to break down his 8th place finish. Well, a rain-soaked girls softball tournament wrapped up on Saturday. Westosha Central beat the Elements and, ironically, Watertown High School to continue their state title bid, winning 3-0 in the championship team. They did this after 10-run ruling Bayport in the semis earlier on Saturday. La Crosse Logan won the D2 state title game by the same score, 3-0, and Laconia snuck out a 2-1 victory over Poynette to win the D3 championship. Well, wrapping up our WIAA state coverage this week, boys tennis and girls soccer continue their road to crowning a state champion this week. Stay tuned to the Sports News this week for the latest results and highlights right here on CW 57. Well, coming up after the break, we break down one of the fastest growing sports in the state tournament network. They finished up these last 2 weeks. We are talking Madison Ultimate Frisbee, and we are going to be joined by the head coach at the Oregon Panthers program. Stay tuned, the Sports News will be right back. Welcome back, and we are in the middle of the state tournament frenzy right now, and no one knows that more than head coach of Panther Ultimate, Nathan Johnson, out at Oregon High School. Nathan, thanks for being here today. Catch us up to speed on what these crazy last 2 weeks have been like.
Well, in the Ultimate season, we top it off with some crossover games between divisions and then a state tournament for both the boys and girls divisions. So a couple weeks ago, we had our state tournament and craziness with tons of teams all at the same field.
Absolutely, and we'll talk on a couple levels, but take me to your school right now with Panther Ultimate. How did the Panthers fare out, and tell us a little bit about the success of your season.
Well, this was our 2nd season for our boys program. We had 6 returnees from last year and a bunch of new faces, and so it was a growing year for us, a lot of still rebuilding from the first year, but we took the next step and we're getting that growth in the program where next year we're going to have 2 boys teams. On the girls' side, we ran a cooperative team with Stoughton for the first time for both of us, and so that was a new adventure, also joining the Girls League of Ultimate.
You talk about the growth from 1 team to 2 on both the boys and girls side, rapid growth in the Madison area. For those of us maybe not as familiar with Ultimate, explain the growth and just what the last few years in Madison have been like.
Well, it was just 4 years ago that the second wave of growth kind of came in Madison, where they got up to like 8 or 9 schools. And just last year, we hit 12 schools in the Madison area that have teams. Most of our large high schools in the areas now do have a team. And now we're really looking at trying to grow the sport across the state as well, beyond the Madison area.
Is the sky the limit, so to speak, for Ultimate, or where do you see it going in Madison?
In Madison, I think that we've about hit our limit right now, that we've got almost all the big schools in the area have a team. And you know, we're looking at just a little bit how our next growth looks like, because we really enjoy the autonomy we have right now as an independent sport. So we're not sure where we go next with it, honestly.
Well, talk to us a little bit about then, for those of us who may not be as familiar, again, it's state tournament time here in Wisconsin, and so, you know, the soccer and the softball kind of take the headlines, but talk to us about kind of what's the hype behind Ultimate, and why do you think people are drawn to it?
Well, it's a different kind of sport. It's not refereed. The players on the field are the ones who referee it. And as of right now, still, it's a sport where every single team gets to go to the state tournament. So we had a state tournament with 21 teams all active on the same field for a whole weekend, which was quite an exciting experience.
Absolutely. Talk about that balance as a student athlete. What type of experience was that for your kids?
Well, for my kids, it's a lot like other sports. We practice every day. We've got a game a week, and we really try and make it about the same as other sports, just a little different tone. There are still some schools who are a little bit less serious about it, have a couple practices a week in a game, so it varies from school to school what the experience looks like.
Well, we're excited to see what the future holds. Thanks to you for joining us today, Nathan. That's Nathan Johnson from Panther Ultimate. And as the WIAA state tournaments wrap up this week, a big summer is just getting started for a local nonprofit here in Madison, Try for Schools. We are joined this morning by the Executive Director, Katie Hensel, as well as Patrick Johnson from Middleton Sports and Fitness. Thanks for being here this morning with us, guys. I'm going to start with you, Katie. Tell us a little bit about the summer ahead and more of the background of this program, Try for Schools.
So Try for Schools gets kids excited about being healthy and active throughout their lifetime through swimming, biking, and running. This summer we've got a few big things coming up. We're going to be running our after-school program at Harbor Athletic Club called Exercise to Achievement, which helps kids train to complete our Middleton Triathlon that's presented by Middleton Sports and Fitness coming up in August.
Yeah, you mentioned it. One of the big things about Try for Schools is the partnerships with the local community, and Patrick Johnson is here from Middleton Sports and Fitness. Patrick, tell us a little bit about why this partnership is ideal for you guys.
Well, you look for a way to give back to the community, and Katie's been fantastic. Just when we first met her, it was a perfect fit. And like she was saying, it's all about the kids. You know, getting them into our store is great, but getting them out and getting a lot of exercise is always a fantastic thing.
And getting them out and getting exercise. Talk to us specifically, Katie, what does that look like? What programs are going on and what can we expect this summer?
So through our after-school program, what we're doing is offering kids lessons in swimming, biking, running, as well as nutrition and conditioning, and then the life skills that accompany being active. So teamwork, confidence, sportsmanship, that sorts of thing. That'll be taking place June through August, and then our triathlon is on August 22nd, which is open to kids ages 3 to 14, and we usually sell this race out at about 500 kids.
And one program that everyone around the Madison community is excited about, a new one, Exercise to Achievement program. Tell us a little bit about this new initiative from Try for Schools.
So we started this because we realized that while it's great to have these big one-day events, the real mission for us is getting kids active throughout their lifetime and keeping them active. So we wanted a way to get more of a consistent impact in the lives of kids. So we use community partners like Harbor Athletic Club and Middleton Sports and Fitness to work with us to offer opportunities for kids to train consistently for these races. So you've got kids that are putting in a lot of miles trying to achieve that goal of completing a triathlon.
Patrick, you know something about this, a collegiate athlete yourself, now at Middleton Sports and Fitness. Tell us about that kind of age range of growing up and just being outdoors and being an athlete. How did that play into your life and why is it so important?
Well, nowadays, you have technology and all that, and it's sad to see kids indoors, and this is one way to get them out and get them running around and get exercise. And like we said before, Katie's just a great partner with us, and it's been a blast for us.
Katie, where can people find out more information about Try for Schools?
The best way would probably be to check out our website. It's tryforschools.org, and you can find a link to all of our events there, including our Middleton Triathlon, as well as we have a fall mud run coming up and a Halloween fun run in October.
Well, Katie and Patrick, thanks for joining us today.
Thank
Thank you.
We'll be right back. Welcome back. As we continue our state tournament coverage on today's show, we are joined now by Paul Johnson. Paul is a 29-year coach out at Edgerton High School for both girls track and basketball. Paul, thank you for being here today. We are talking tournament today, and I know you guys have had a fun last couple weeks with 4 girls from your track program at the state tourney. Tell us a little bit about the last 2 weeks and this experience for you as a coach.
You know, I've been through it so many times, but it's always a great experience to see girls when they're making their first trip. And the 4 girls were all freshmen and sophomores, and we were in 3 different events, and probably could have had a 4th one real close, but the excitement for them is what excites me.
Well, talk to me about that a little bit more. I mean, you've seen it year after year for many years in the program. Just what type of an experience is that for a student athlete, 16, 17, 18 years old? Can you give us a little glimpse of what that's like for your girls?
Well, they at first I think it's, especially with young girls that haven't been there before, it's a little bit the awe. And we did some handoffs early on, and there was, all of a sudden we dropped the baton and things, and it was just then they kind of settled down. But I think the electricity, I actually wish every kid could experience it. Take a bus load of kids just to see what's happening at the state track meet. It's unlike even basketball tournaments. It's just 12,000 people in the stands. It's and everybody's cheering for everybody, and they've got their favorites while they're there in the races, but everybody's watching every other race and just watching some kids put forth some incredible effort.
You mentioned the basketball program as well, coaching dual sports at Edgerton. Catch us up to speed on the state of the Edgerton basketball program.
The Edgerton basketball program, the girls program, has been doing better. We're very young. We had a great season this year. I've been coaching basketball there for 29 years, and I've done everything from freshman boys to being the varsity head coach to being JV coach, and we have a lot of participation. Right now, just a lot of young kids in the program, especially the girls' side.
I'm interested in your perspective, being in the school system for so many years. How good do we have it here in Wisconsin? Can you tell us a little bit about the WIAA and this association that student athletes are able to play in here in this great state?
I think we have a lot of support. I think they're trying to do the best they can with the many different sports, and I can't even imagine being someone up at the WIAA and trying to deal with all the different sports and all the different wants of all the different coaches. But I think they do a pretty good job balancing things and trying to get as much support for the athletes. And I just know that when I've been to other states for tournaments, and even being from Arizona, the state tournament here for sports, and the state tournament especially for track in particular, it's incredible. You bring all the divisions together, and there's just so much there for the kids, and so kid focused. When I was in Arizona, it was different divisions in different small venues, and so this has just been for me, coming from that, and just over the years, just an incredible experience and an incredible, I think, job by the WIAA for us.
Well, thank you very much for joining us today, Paul. Joining us now is Max Murphy, a graduating senior on the Waunakee golf team. We've been talking a lot of state tourney this morning, Max, including the state golf tournament that just wrapped up at University Ridge. You finished a tie for 8th with a 75-76 finish. Max, tell us a little bit about how you would assess your week out at U Ridge.
It was really fun. I mean, pretty much the climax of the high school season is the state tournament, and I had not made it there before. So to get there my senior year was really fun. Just the whole atmosphere. A bunch of the big crowds, that's definitely different than the rest of the high school events. So it's really fun to just go out there at U Ridge now that it's got a Champions Tour event too. It's kind of cool to go play on a really big golf course that you may not get to play kind of during the week, right?
Exactly, yeah. A tremendous course there at University Ridge. We're lucky to call home. You had played out there earlier, 72-72 first place finish at the Morgan Stanley tournament. How did that play into your expectations going into state? Did you think there was maybe a lower number to get out there?
There's definitely lower numbers than I put up. I didn't play well in the greens, hit the ball well, but it was really fun. I know that I liked that course, and I've played well before, as you said, with 272s, and I knew I can put a good number up, but I just didn't play great this week, but it was still really fun.
It was fun, and a tie for 8th finish at the state tournament is certainly nothing to be disappointed in. Tell me about that mentality as a competitor. You know, on one end, a tie for 8th is a great score at the state tourney that many hope to get to. On the other end, it's not a first place finish. How do you wrestle with that as a competitor?
After day one, I want to say 5 or 6 strokes back. So the second day was just a grind, and it was really fun to. It was weird coming down the stretch. The not last 9 holes, your high school career. It's kind of weird to do that, but got a bunch of tournaments coming up in the summer too. So coming down the stretch, I wanted to make a bunch of birdies, but you never want to make a big number either. So I was fine with putting up a 76 on day 2.
It did seem like there was kind of that middle hole stretch. I believe holes 10 through 13, you were 5 over for the 2 days. Was there something about that middle part of the course, or did they just happen to sneak up on you?
They just kind of sneak up on me. The other 72s you mentioned, I really liked those holes. There's nothing too difficult about them, short par 4s, but just hit a few bad wedges and a few bad putts, add those together, make a few bogeys. So I just didn't play well in those 5 or 6 holes.
It was a little different state tournament this year. Obviously, the team was not there with you. Can you tell us about that kind of different feeling going out playing as an individual, not necessarily representing your entire team?
Yeah, the mentality is pretty similar. I mean, you always want to put up the best number you can, not waste any strokes. But during the team season, it's definitely, if you're trying to get a birdie, you're not going to do something crazy because you're going to put up a 6 instead of a 3, and then your team kind of suffers from that. So mentality is similar, as you just want to put up the best score you can.
Well, congratulations on a tremendous high school career and a great tie for 8th finish at the state tourney. Thanks for being here today with us, Max.
Yeah, thank you very much.
We'll be right back. Taking a step aside from state tournament news for a minute, there is another fast-growing sport in the Madison area that high schoolers really all across the city and state are getting involved in, and that's martial arts. We are joined now by Mike Welch, owner and operator of Infinity Martial Arts. Mike, thanks for being with us today. Tell us a little bit about Infinity and the team that you represent.
Well, I started Infinity Martial Arts in 2007. I've been competing since I was like 9 years old, and Infinity in Middleton, we started a team probably about 2008 or 9, and really started hitting a world circuit, and just been taking off ever since.
Absolutely. You mentioned the circuit. Tell us a little bit for those of us who aren't as familiar. What's the circuit?
Sure. So there's a circuit is just like NASCAR, for example. So we compete on a NASCAR circuit, which is the North American Sport Karate Association. We compete on the NBL, which is the National Black Belt League. And we've also started hitting some international tournaments. We had some students recently in Quebec. We plan to go to the Mexican Open this September. And we also, this past March, went to the Irish Open, which is one of the largest tournaments in the world with over 4,000 competitors.
Now, every sport has its source of inspiration and motivation to kind of get you to the top, but I have to say martial arts is one of those where you really see it in the eyes of the competitors. Tell us a little bit about that inspiration, that motivation in your sport.
Sure. So for me, when I was a kid, it was athletes and martial artists that were older and ahead of me that I knew this is what I was going to do for the rest of my life. And there's a lot of different teams that we compete against, and a lot of them pick up the best competitors from over here, over here, over here. Our inspiration is just under one roof. Infinity Martial Arts and Team Infinity are one. So we work with each other, we challenge each other, we motivate each other. We genuinely care about each other, which is, not the care part is unique, but the fact that we're all from one school is very unique to be competitive in a world circuit.
Tell us a little bit more about your specific team here at Infinity. What makes them different, and what's happening right here in our own town?
Well, again, just the fact that we're from under one roof and not handpicked from across the country. We have a very big range of ages. So our youngest competitor might be 10 or 11 years old. We have middle schoolers, high schoolers, and then grown adults. I'm the oldest competitor on the team, being 34. But that's probably the biggest thing that separates us, just being under one roof.
Well, thanks so much for joining us today, Mike. Again, that's Mike Welch, owner of Infinity Martial Arts. And we are joined now by Tom Anzak. He is the head men and women's cross-country coach at UW-Platteville. Tom, we have been talking a lot of WIAA state tournament news today with all the excitement. Before we get into your program at UW-Platteville, can you reflect a little bit on the WIAA state tournament and how that really feeds into your program at Platteville?
Well, of course, the weather this year was much better than last, which is always helpful, but it's just always a great display of the track and field talent in the state of Wisconsin. And of course, most of our conference coaches are up there looking at talent, looking at kids they've got coming in next fall, as well as potentially down the road a year or two. So it's just a great event.
As you mentioned, many of those kids now going on to the collegiate level. Catch us up to speed a little bit on the state of the program at UW-Platteville.
Well, we are always trying to get better, as is everyone. I think our program has been pretty successful. This year we were 7th in the nation at the the NCAA Division III Track and Cross Country Championships. I was fortunate enough to have a young man, Ian Lemire, win the 10,000 meters at that event, so that was always exciting.
You mentioned Ian Lemire, a standout this year. Tell us a little bit about what goes into his season, maybe behind the scenes for some of us who just noticed him at the NCAA tourney. Tell us a little bit about his season and what got him to the level he was at to perform.
Well, he's an extremely hard worker, as you would imagine. He's also learned that being an athlete is not a 2 to 3 hour a day job, it's a 24-hour a day job. That is to say, he's an athlete 24 hours a day. He eats right, he gets to sleep, he takes care of his schoolwork so that it doesn't become an outside interference and a stress. He's just very dedicated and has a very, very positive attitude. No sooner did he win the 10,000, and he was also entered in the 5,000, and he wanted to know what I thought his chances were of winning that. So he's just a very positive kid and very dedicated.
Well, success is no stranger to you guys at UW-Platteville. You hear the expression, don't mess with success. Tell us a little bit about the stability of your program over the last 15 years.
Well, we've had quite a few All-Americans. In fact, the number of male All-Americans on the cross-country side, we've had more than any other conference school, as well as that's also true of our middle distance individual event All-Americans. We've had the most individual event All-Americans, and when you combine them with our women's, we're number 2 in the conference. And we are, as you've already said, the most successful conference in the United States, so we're doing pretty well there. As far as, I've been there 23 years. I'll be entering my 24th season, so there's consistency in coaching, but I certainly don't do the same thing from year to year to year. I'm always looking for new things to add. We were probably one of the first programs to use the stability balls, or sometimes called the Swiss balls, the foam rollers, the massage sticks. We do mental training twice a week, always trying to tweak a little bit and get the edge on the competition.
Well, you have done a tremendous job with that program. Thanks for joining us today. Again, that is Tom Anzak. And that will do it for this very special edition of the Sports News covering the WIAA State Tournament. We want to give a heartfelt congratulations not only to the state champions, but also all of the participants as student athletes. It was a tremendous year. Be sure to stay tuned for the Sports News this next week for continued coverage of girls softball as well as girls soccer. Thanks for joining us.